He's gonna make it clear. Did you know? Come on, listen here. Did you know?
Welcome to the Did You Know Show. My name is Brian Green. Today's show is sponsored by Always Best Care. We're always happy to get you out in the community. Today's show is Educating Communities for Parenting. And I am really excited to introduce to my viewership this whole team down here in Center City, Philadelphia, that specializes in bringing about education and resources to young people in the way of parenting. Without further ado, I have Anita Kulik, who is the president and CEO of Educating Communities for Parenting, and her right hand, Gloria Price, who is the vice president of programs and operations. Welcome, ladies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so, tell us, Anita, about the concept of Educating Communities for Parenting, also known as ECP.
ECP, it's easier to say. Educating Communities for Parenting is 41 years old, which in the lifetime of a nonprofit is ancient. We're there because the work that we started doing way back in 1979 is absolutely the same work that we're doing today. And that's to help make sure that children are raised in loving, caring, nurturing families. So we started this program with a program called Baby Watch. And that was when you would bring a baby, and most likely back then, a parent into a classroom. And the children in that classroom would watch that baby grow over the school year. They'd watch them grow from a little tiny toddler who might not be able to say a word to by the end of the year where they're talking and maybe walking and running around. And it's a very simple concept, but what ends up happening is that the children form this incredible bond, turns the classroom into a living classroom. And what they're learning by watching this loving, nurturing relationship between a parent and a child or a caregiver is that everybody's different, that the way you react can influence the way other people react, that if you're loving and caring, the baby will respond like that. If you're not loving and caring, the baby can respond negatively. The children learn to be more sensitive to their own needs and mostly to the needs of others. And what happens is that we find that when we ask educators, what are the results of having this program in your classroom? They'll tell us that the children have far less discipline problems, that they have far many pro-social behaviors. Those are behaviors in class where if somebody asks them to do something, they'll respond positively and do it. If there's a disagreement between one student and another, rather than go use physical force, because they know that's really not something you should do, they might use words. They will try to negotiate a positive outcome. This program is a gem. When children come into classrooms and schools, unless they have nurturing, caring, they're able to feel comfortable, they're not going to be able to learn. There are also lots of children that don't learn that way. Some children literally cannot sit in a math class and learn math. But if you're bringing a baby into a classroom and you're talking about how many diapers does that baby, if the baby uses 8 diapers a day, how many diapers in a week, how many boxes will that baby need, that's a way to teach them. It's more real, it's more comforting. The educational departments, divisions across the country are now realizing social emotional programs are incredibly important. And hopefully Baby Watch will be able to be in more schools. Right now we do programs at Mastery Charter School for children with intellectual disabilities and also emotional disabilities. And one of our most amazing projects is we do it at Overbrook Educational Learning Center, where we work with middle schoolers who are blind and visually impaired. And even though they can't see the baby in some cases, they get to feel the baby, touch the baby. The relationship is the same. The program is magical.
So, Anita, you have a very long history in education.
Right. I started out as an English teacher. I was a middle school English teacher, and education is the key. I loved working with young people. I loved English. I loved probably English more than a lot of the students did in the beginning. But as I said, in addition to just learning grammar, reading, how to write, one of the things about being a teacher is you're able to open the world, that when you see a certain spark in a child, you're able to just work with that child. I think one of the things that concerns me about education now is that we've sort of taken away some of the power that teachers have, that teachers are far more than just machines up there doing a curriculum. going through a rote course of study. Teachers are there to help develop relationships, and most people who find success in school have had wonderful relationships with teachers, which leads me to my philosophy with running this organization. I will tell anybody, our facilitators, our teachers it's what makes us who we are. That you can give anybody a curriculum. We have a Baby Watch curriculum that is extraordinary. It's valued across the country. People know the value. But unless that curriculum is in the hands of a gifted teacher, it really will go nowhere. And we have a responsibility to make sure that the young people are prepared to deal with the future. And later on, when you meet the people who we work with, you'll see that what I'm saying is true, that they can take a class and turn it into magic and change lives.
So we changed the course of the conversation to Gloria Price. Gloria, you're the Vice President of Programs and Operations. What is your role?
So what I actually do is I oversee the operations of some of the programs just to make sure that everything is running smoothly.
Right.
I came here with a business background, but I also worked in education. So I did admissions at one of the elite private schools. And so my combination of a business background and working at the private school was really a good fit for here when I came here. Anita was here. She had, the organization was going through changes, and she and I had worked together, and she asked me to come in. And I wanted to do the work with these young people. It was so nice to see and to know that I would be able to help people in the community who I knew really needed the support. And so we really formed the organization to work so that it would really touch the people that we serve. We didn't want to be an organization who just was saying we did parenting, but we didn't also help with some type of services. So we changed the dynamics of what the programs look like. We actually touched the families. We gave them diapers. We made sure that they had some of the necessary things besides just the parenting skills. All of that is parenting skills. It's not just providing information, but also providing support. We screen our facilitators to make sure that they fit with the populations that we serve, because we may have parents that are in foster care. We may have parents who are in traditional high schools. We have a lot of parents who are in alternative schools who have dropped out and have come back. So we have so many different types of parents, visually impaired. So our facilitators really need to match, and that's real important for me as an administrator to make sure that they match the population that we serve. They don't all go everywhere. They all match the group that they serve, and that's real important to us. And I think that's why we've been successful in what we've been doing, because we're very, very, very sensitive to our population. Teen parenting and some of the things that we do now are not new things, but the environment is different.
Okay. How do you mean the environment is different?
The environment is very different. I think back then families lived closer together, so even though you had young parents, they had support. We have a lot of homeless parents who have children who sleep on people's sofas, who don't have the type of support where you might have had a grandmother or a great-grandmother or someone to support you.
Big Mama is missing.
Yes, that's right. And so she's missing. And so we're trying to fill some of those gaps. We can't fill all of the gaps, but we are really good about partnering. We're very, very committed to partnering to make sure that our clients and the people that we serve and the parents that we serve and the students that we serve can get the support that they need. That is the overall mission for us, to make sure that we don't just give them information, but we also support them. A lot of our facilitators are therapists. They're teachers. They have a combination of both. The backgrounds that we look for the people to work with our team and all of our parents have to match.
And so this is throughout the complete city of Philadelphia, and actually the surrounding counties as well, or just really concentrated in Philadelphia?
Right now, we're only in Philadelphia.
Okay.
That primarily is a result of our funding, because we are funded through Philadelphia Department of Human Services.
And then for my viewing audience, if you're interested in supporting the ECP, or Educating Communities for Parenting. You can look at the bottom of the screen. You can look for the phone number, the website, and if you're looking to volunteer, donate, or just really turn somebody onto these resources, I mean, these guys are down here at 919 Walnut Street. I don't know your hours of operations, but I'm sure you'll give that to me.
Right.
And so, you know, when you talk about facilitators and outreach and that kind of thing, how often do those kind of talks go on? Do they go on weekly?
The classes.
The classes.
Runs gamut. We have classes that run every week. They're there once a week. Some classes were there twice a week. It depends on the number of hours.
Okay.
We have what we call, so as Gloria said, we have classes at specific sites, schools. We call them site-specific, means only the people who are attending those schools or living in those facilities can attend.
Okay.
But we have an open site that we have on Thursday evenings. This is an advertisement from 6 to 8 o'clock. It's open to anyone who is expecting with a child up to the age of 7. You can have older children, but we focus on early childhood education because that's an essential part for brain development and for forming secure attachments. What's wonderful is we really don't know who's going to be in that class. It's pretty much whoever calls us. We get a lot of people who are mandated by court. That could be for issues from custody, from issues dealing with some abuse issues with their children, and also substance abuse issues. Right now, we actually have more males in that class than females.
That's interesting.
It is interesting.
And when I think about, you know, some of the things I'm tasked to speak about, you know, there's a rise in male caregivers as of late,
Absolutely.
too. And so that's one of the things that I enjoy reading about this program is when you think of teen parenting, unfortunately, a lot of times they focus on the mother. We're going to talk today about, you know, fathers and families. You know, you guys have brought your team, your whole executive team here for me to talk to today. We're starting off with Anita and Gloria, but we have people that lead the Director of Youth Development Programs, the Father and Family Initiatives, and the different facilitators out there that are going to talk about the different programs. So ladies, thank you. I'm going to tell my audience to stay tuned because we're going to come back and we're going to talk with Edna Morris and Juan Baxter and Aresha Greer about the different programs. Stay tuned.
Did you know?
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is an approved Community Health Choices provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services, doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations. Always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. We're going to continue our show and learn all about ECP. And with me, I have two leaders in the program. I have Aresha Greer, who's the lead facilitator, and I have Edna Morris, who's the Director of Youth Development Programs. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome. That's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. So let's start with you, Aresha. You're the lead facilitator. What does that mean? What do you do for the program?
So I facilitate classes in the community at different sites that we have. And so I'm responsible for taking the curriculum and making it fun and interesting and making sure that the content that we want to give to the participants is presented in a way that they understand it, because everybody that we're serving, they come in at different levels and different places. So I'm charged with taking that information, presenting it in a way where they can understand it, and making class fun and interesting.
All right, and so what is your background?
So my background is in social work, but my most recent experience has been as an administrator at a school, a charter school,
Okay.
which is how I was introduced to ECP. I guess it's been about 10 years now that I've worked for the organization.
Oh, wow.
So my background is community work, you know, going into homes, schools, and making sure that families have what they need to be successful and healthy and happy.
When you're doing your classes, what is the normal class size? What's the average class size? Does it range from 5 to 15 or 20?
So it depends on the location. So the classes that are in different charter schools in the area, they vary anywhere from, I'd say, 5 to 7, 8 students, because most of those schools have smaller populations, and attendance is a challenge for a lot of those schools. When it's a class that we're having, I think that we mentioned earlier the class that's on Thursday at Greater Exodus Baptist Church, the open site. That class goes from anywhere from 10 to 16 people. So it just depends on where the location is.
So Anita mentioned earlier that the participants have to be connected to the site. And then I've heard you guys both say, you ladies both say at different points, open sites. Yeah. So could you explain the difference?
Absolutely. So if we are facilitating a class in a school or some other organization, that class was formed through a relationship that we kind of went in and said, hey, can we provide this service? And it's only open to the individuals who attend that school or are from that organization. The open site, which is on Thursday, it's open to anybody in the city that has young people or children under the age of 7 and are ready and willing to learn about parenting.
And that means anybody that is interested, but also, does it have to be a parent? Can it be somebody in that village to come and check the program out?
Yeah, so most times we prefer to service people who have kids under age 7, but if you come with a support person, we will welcome that support person and embrace them as well.
All right, so let's turn the conversation to Edna Morris. Edna, you are the Director of Youth Development Programs. What does that mean exactly?
It means that I'm involved with some of the major programs at ECP, specifically the Baby Watch program, the Intake Support program, and also meeting with young people at the Juvenile Justice Center that are, that are parenting.
All right, so then break that down. So then the Juvenile Justice Center, let's start with that. What does that mean? What do those mean like in terms of intake? What does that mean for our viewing audience? What does intake mean? What is that process like?
All right. It's a program that was developed to meet the needs of the parenting students that are detained. We have students that have unfortunately been arrested and that they are detained at the Juvenile Justice Center. And they are detained for over a period of time. And since they are young people, they have to be provided with an education. And so we are there to support the students that are parenting. And a lot of the young people at our the detention center are parents. They have problems with the law, they have been arrested, and they also have the fact that they're parenting. So, they're dealing with a lot of issues.
And so you come in and really talk through them and give them, I guess, a way to really rebuild and rehab to a second chance, if you will. Or I won't say second chance, maybe an alternative.
Well, certainly support them. And chief thing is forming a relationship. Let them know that I, care about them, that we really care. And once that relationship is established, then we can give them information and let them know that they can have a part in their child's life. They may be detained, but that doesn't mean that their relationship with their child is over. There are ways that they still can be an active part, take an active part in parenting and being with their child.
And what's your background?
Education. I'm a former Philadelphia school teacher.
Hey, the public system?
Yes.
Hey.
I'm not going to tell you how long, but many, many years.
Okay.
I've been a public school teacher, and in the elementary grades, grades 1 through 6 in Philadelphia, about 4 schools.
Okay.
So that was very, very rewarding. And then I was in the process of thinking about retiring when this opportunity came up. And wow, it just kind of really extended my professional career. Really, it was a way I wanted to change, so I didn't really want to be in front of a group of 34 children in front of a classroom that large every day from 6 or 6.5 hours, but still be a part of one of the most important professions in the world.
And I'll ask both Arisha and Edna, do you find yourself mentoring and coaching teachers that may come into our community that have children that may potentially be on the road that need that extra support and resources? Do you find yourself helping them with their lesson plans, if you will, or what I heard you say, Arisha, in the beginning is finding interesting ways to keep the class engaged. Can we talk to that a little bit?
Sure. So definitely I would say, as Ms. Edna mentioned, is one of the things that we do that's paramount is building relationships. And I feel like that is the basis for any kind of communication you want to have with the person. So I think we model and model well relationships. And so teachers and other professionals who engage with us see that and say, hey, oh, that's something I can use in my classroom. So it's very important to, know your individuals by name, remember what their stories are, and be genuine when you're interacting with them. So those are all the things that we model when working with community members, such as teachers and other school officials.
Ms. Edna, I had to imagine that respect is a really big part of
Yes.
when you have to establish that line of respect when you're talking to them, and respect is free flowing. It goes both ways.
Yeah, it does, and it's also how you present yourself too.
Okay.
Like you care about how you dress, you just don't throw in on anything, like you care, and a lot of times it's really how you come, your mannerisms. Like, you respect them, so I'm here to share information with you.
If I could just add too, I think it's really important to acknowledge that the people that we work with are doing the best they know how to do at this present time. And so when we are interacting with people when they come into the class for the first time, you can see they come in and they're kind of like, what is this about? They're looking around, they're really guarded. But one of the things that I try to communicate in that first exchange is that I know you are a good parent. You are doing something right. And most places will tell you, they'll highlight what you're doing wrong. We're going to highlight what you're doing right and build from that strength perspective. So that respect comes in because we're giving them respect automatically. You're the chief person. You're the person who knows your child the best, not me. So I'm not going to come in and tell you how to do things. I'm going to ask, what's working? Wow, that's working for you. You're great at that. Let's figure out what's not working and how we can build upon your strengths and use that to address the things you're struggling with. So that respect comes in when they walk into the class and I say, I know you're a good parent. You wouldn't be here if you weren't a great parent. It changes that, it shifts the
Dynamics.
mood. It shifts the mood for them to be respected as, I'm an individual who, I may be here because my DHS sent me or some other thing, but this person is saying, I'm a good parent. And we stand on that and build from there.
Another thing, I'm involved with a program called the Intake Support Program at the Juvenile Justice Center.
Okay.
And it's really new. It's the first time that the Juvenile Justice Center had a program, and it was developed, through ECP. And what it is, when that parent gets that phone call during the night that their child has been arrested and they are at the police station, please come and pick them up. And they are told to bring them to the Juvenile Justice Center in the morning around 8:30. When that parent comes through the door, oh my goodness. So a lot of the times their child was detained, so they haven't even seen their child. And so they come in and, all these concerns that you would naturally have if you had a child that was arrested.
Right.
And so I'm there to support them and to thank them, number one, for getting there, because parents come from all over the city. A lot of the times they don't even know how to get there. A lot of the times they don't have car fare to get there. And a lot of the times they don't know if their child is going to be detained over a period of time or will they be discharged or released. So I'm there to support them and let them know that, I can, help them just by, number one, listening to them and giving them some heads up about what the whole process, the intake interview process. And it's really, that's a very successful program with ECP, and the director and the different people at Juvenile Justice really, really, are very happy about it because it's the first time we've ever had something like that.
Wow. So how long have you been with ECP? You said
ECP since 2004. I retired in June of 2004, and in September 2004 I started
who
here.
retires these days,
Yes,
really?
well, what can I say? Retired. How about this? Retired from the school district.
Okay. Fair.
Retired from the school district, and then within a couple of months I started right here at ECP.
Now, I'm off script. I'm just sitting here thinking about the curriculum and the program and the topics you're talking about, parenting and all that kind of thing. Do you ever get questions about, we're in 2020 obviously now, do you ever get questions about the census or voting? Do you talk about current events at all? I mean, is that a lot of that come up in the conversations?
Absolutely, because we're dealing with real people who have real issues. So we make it a prerequisite that whatever they come in wanting to talk about is what we talk about. We try to weave it into whatever the topic is for that day. So whatever they come to us with, whether it's politics or any other kind of thing that's happening in the community, we weave it into the conversation.
A big thing is this gun violence. You know, I'm dealing with students that are at a Mastery Charter School, and they are living in an area like Germantown and North Philadelphia and different areas in Philadelphia, and they're very, very concerned. So we talk about what is it that they can do as young people. You know, we're all about child abuse prevention. That's one of the things that we're concerned about in the Baby Watch program. So we talk about that, and communication, and a lot of the violence, gun violence, really stems from ineffective communication.
Fight or flight,
yeah,
oftentimes.
that type of thing. So that's an issue. So, you know, as far as their concerns, outside of parenting concerns, issues in the community certainly spills over into whatever your topic happens to be in class.
I can just about imagine, too. I mean, you know, when you think about current events, at least I do, I can't turn it off sometimes. Some would argue that I'm a news junkie. But the other part of it is, too, that young people in a lot of ways have become kind of the change, the voice of change and reason, especially when it comes to gun reform and background checks and that kind of a thing. You know, unfortunately, kids have these drills. You know, if a mass shooter comes into school, what do you do? These are the kind of conversations that our young people are having to have, not to mention the teachers. You know, and so, you know, when you talk about that, then you know, some of them may be old enough to vote, but a lot of them aren't. But when you get a chance to vote, you know, we want to get you excited, because I can tell you, honestly, if I think back to my youth, I wasn't thinking about voting and at 15, 16, but I was very conscious of young people with kids. I was a result of teenage pregnancy, and so, you know, my mother, you know, taught me everything from the Negro, you know, encyclopedias to a budget, you know, and to all kinds of different things that we were, you know, growing up and dealing with. All right, ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate it. You know, Edna Morris and Arisha Geyer. Thank you, ladies, for coming on to the show. We're going to continue our conversation with Juan Baxter, who is the Director of Fathers and Families Initiatives for ECP. Stay tuned.
Did you know?
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is an approved Community Health Choices provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services, doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations. Always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I want to remind our viewers that you can check me out on WRD 900 AM and also 96.1 FM on Saturdays at 4 p.m. The Did You Know Show is live. Joining the conversation, without further ado,
here we go.
Juan Baxter, who is the Director of Fathers and Family Initiatives. Now, before we go on, I'm going to have to put him on blast a little bit. Juan and I have a lot in common. We both grew up in West Philadelphia.
Yes, we did.
West Philadelphia, born and raised.
On the playground, where I spend most of my days. I got to finish it.
And listen, went to HBCUs. I went to Virginia State, shout out to Cheney.
Oh, shout out to Cheney. See you.
All right, and then we both in fraternities, and I'm a Mega Psi Phi man. He's a Kappa. So now we got that. Now we got that
out the way. Now we can talk. Let's
talk about it.
Talk.
All right, Director of Fathers and Family Initiatives. What's going on with that? What do you do?
So one of the biggest problems in Philadelphia right now is the gun violence. And most of the gun violence now is done by young males, who don't have adult male figures in their life. And the thing is, because if you look at fathers now, they only show us as we're deadbeat dads, we're locked up in jail, we don't want to have no part to do with our families. But that's not true. In actuality, it's a lot of single-parent fathers. If you look at the statistics nowadays, it's a lot more single-parent fathers than it was in the past. Fathers are in the lives. A lot of fathers are coming home and trying to reintegrate into the family life, but it's hard to reintegrate into a family system that's already been functioning without you.
Right.
So you get pushed out. So the thing is to give them the resources and the education that they need to be successful fathers. Because I believe that every father should have a chance to be a father and have the support system that they need to be a great father.
Okay. You want to talk about your personal experience?
Sure. I was a teen father. I actually was a teen father and a teen single father.
Okay.
So for the first 3 years of my son's life, he lived with me.
Okay.
So, but I had a support group of my mother and my sister and my family who helped me to get past that, because as a teen father, you like, and then I still had to finish school. So it was like,
what do you do? What to do?
Yeah, so what do? I pick up my bag and I keep walking.
Okay. And so you don't allow people to make excuses?
Oh, no excuses.
So what is the curriculum like? What are the conversations like when you're talking to these young men supposedly that are having, problems? I say supposedly because problems, you look for resolutions.
Right.
So what do you talk about? What is the conversation about?
So my general conversation is, how can I support you? Like, what do you need to help you? Because see, a lot of times they don't even know what they need.
Okay.
They like, I need a job. But I'm like, do you have a high school diploma? Do you have your education? Do you have a driver's license? Do you have a resume? So I have to break down to them, like, what are the things that you need? Because a lot of times, if you ask people what they need, they can't explain it to you.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Because you don't know what you don't know. And we can't make them know it if they don't know it. Like, it wasn't taught.
Right. And so then you're meeting. So how often do you meet as a group? Do you have the different sessions at the sites? And then you have open sessions as well? How does it all work?
Well, so at this point where we're getting together with like different community-based stakeholders, finding out in the community what's needed in that community for the males. If it's job readiness, if it's resume writing, if it's computer literacy. Some people just, it's literacy period. They can't read or write. Like, they're on first and second grade reading levels. But it's just society in general that has them at that point. And in the coming future, we're going to start doing a couch. The couch is basically a men's support group in the communities. So what it is I'm a therapist. My background is a therapist. I'm a relationship therapist. So I became a therapist to support the black males and changing the stigma of what it means to go to a therapist.
Okay.
Because the first thing you say is, you need to see a therapist. They say, man, I'm not crazy. And you say, you don't have to be crazy in order to see a therapist, but you may need somebody to talk to, because you may be suffering from some trauma that happened when you was a child and you never dealt with.
Wow. And then just to be clear, this program, oftentimes you find yourself dealing with minorities, but that is not the only population that comes in with names. I just need to say that out loud.
Oh yeah. Well, see, the thing about it is, the population right now is so mixed right now. It's like a big salad. Everybody's in there all together. You go into every neighborhood and it's a mixed neighborhood. Okay. It's no, this is this community. Yeah, in this community, all you're gonna see is Asians. In this community, are Latino. No, everybody is together.
Okay.
So when you go to these stakeholder meetings, you're sitting down with everybody. Okay. Not just one ethnicity, not just one background. You're sitting with young, old, retired, educated. Now, you just sitting down and you having a general conversation. Because most of the time, we don't even talk to each other.
Right.
You can live next door. When we grew up, we knew our next door neighbors, right? You knew everybody lived on the block.
Yeah, you sure did. And they knew your mother, too.
And they knew, what? You got in trouble, Mom? Listen, they got me before my mom did.
And was waiting home for your mother when she came home. She knew, like, listen, I got him first.
So now you can't even name 2 of your neighbors on the block. And 9 times out of 10, don't nobody speak to each other. I can wave at a neighbor now, and they won't even say hi back.
And you got to be careful when you're talking to people, because you got to be careful when you're talking to people about their kids. Oh, when you tell them you can't talk to everybody about their kids.
Right.
Because my kid, not my kids.
Not my kids.
But your kids is the biggest hell raisers on the block. And consistently. And sometimes people have this misnomer that, a lot of the kids with behavioral problems or that have made bad decisions come from broken homes. That's not the case. A lot of times kids come from a linear background, mother and a father in the home, and sometimes even an intergenerational situation where big mama's there.
Right.
But unfortunately, there are so many distractions for the youth, with social media, and I'm not demonizing social media because I'm on it, but I'm just saying, social media without guidance as a young person is just like watching TV programs that are not rated.
Right.
You got social media that's PG, R-rated, X-rated. You know, so if you're not really watching what your kids are watching, and young people, they have the potential to make bad decisions. I'm glad you're involved and you're sharing. You know, do you often find yourself sharing your story as an icebreaker, or what's the icebreaker in these kinds of conversations?
The icebreaker is just being myself, like just being general, being a regular human being, not being somebody who's like I'm overbearing, like judgmental. Listen, I don't have no room to judge anybody. Like my story is probably 95% of everybody's story that I meet.
Okay.
So it's the single parent home, living on welfare, growing up, and like just all of these things, you know, and then just trying to be a male out in society, trying to advance himself. Right. So when I feel myself like sometimes as a comedian, so my icebreakers is more normally just joking around.
Comedic to break the ice.
Because comedy and humor is a good way to break people ice. Like, because a lot of times we put up this guard, like, I don't want to talk to nobody. Or as the young people say, no new friends.
Wow. I hear that phrase a lot, no new friends.
No new friends.
And
I'm like, well, how do you, like...
Life is about building relationships. How are you going to survive? You're a young person talking about no more new friends.
What happens if that old friends go away? Then you just by yourself?
You isolate it.
Yeah.
Because there's a trust factor. You know, the therapists that we talked to before, your team, if you will, your cohorts, mentioned that they have to keep, you know, the level of respect back and forth. And they oftentimes, when they're talking to the people in the programs, they can see the weight of their individual stories being lifted. What's that like? You know, because you had, you know, one thing that Miss Edna said, you know, is that, you know, when she's talking to these people, and whether it's on an intake situation, whether it's mandated, or they just come to these programs, as a teacher, you know, you're a person that's opening the world for them. Right. So how do you, you know, I have to admit, probably, and I guess maybe men sometimes we're taught not to have emotion. You know, and unfortunately, you know, if you're already somebody that's making bad choices, then you really, you know, are at a deficit.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And so you don't really know how to show your emotion in a way of just showing who you are. And I'm sure that's probably, and I'm not a therapist, and that's not my background, but I have to imagine that's some of the challenges that you have to get to. And I'm sure it's not accomplished in one session.
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. What I try to teach, and when I started at ECP, I started off as a facilitator. Okay. So what I would always teach is, especially for the parents who are raising young men, I say the first time they fall down and you say to them, get up, stop crying, you just told them to hide their feelings, to hide their emotions. So now when he's 16, 17 years old and he walked past you and you asked him how his day was, and he's like, it was cool. You never told him how to express himself. And the community around says the same thing. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to feel. So now when you're walking around with a zombie-like feelings, how do you expect him to express them if he never was taught how to express them? Instead of saying, get up, say, well, what's hurting? Why are you crying? It's nothing wrong with saying that.
Right. That's interesting. And then that's a lot of young people.
Oh, and they look at me like, what, for real? And I'm like, yeah, you need to change your mindset. Because they like, oh, now I got to ask. Yeah, talk to them.
Right.
Talk to them.
You know, I always tell the young people, too, that I come in contact with, why are you face-fighting people? It's all right to smile.
They can't.
You know, pick up the phone. When you pick up the phone and you're talking to people, smile before you dial. You know, you can tell when somebody's having a good day or a bad day, or if they're smiling or frowning on the phone. And so some of the interview skills, because I do soft skills training every now and again, by default, because I deal with a lot of young people that come out that, you know, that don't have the finishing school perspective. So a lot of times, you know, I manage people in my organization from 18 to 82. So the younger people, you know, you have to sometimes focus on soft skills. Please and thank you. Things that seem simple, but, you know, if you've never taught the same thing, please and thank you, shaking hand, firm handshake, you know, all this kind of, you know, opening the door, it's okay, you know. And if you hurt about something, you know, it's all right to put it in proportion. I applaud you. I mean, because it's not easy. When I see the people dealing with the community, I'm going to ask the viewing audience that you'll see at the bottom of our screen, you'll see the website for ECP, you'll see the phone number. You know, I'm sure that you could benefit from having more male facilitators. Is it a need?
It's a need. It's a need. It's a need for for male facilitators and just for people in general to come and get the information.
Okay.
A lot of times they don't even want to come out and get the information. That's why I said the couch, because we can talk on the couch if I say come to the couch, we talking about sports, we watching a video, like playing video games, boxing matches. It's all like I can find out all the information I want from you just for us sitting there watching the game on the couch. But if I was to say, what's going on, how you feel today? 9 times out of 10, most males are gonna say, I'm good, I'm all right. And knowing deep inside they about to be divorced, their children don't like them, they about to lose their job, their whole world is going to shams. But instead of having a support group that you need for somebody who can go and hold you accountable for these things, we don't. We don't. So that's where the couch come in at. Like, just come together. We're going to sit on the couch. We may talk about sports, but we're going to talk about how we can help each other and hold each other accountable as men.
Wow. Juan Baxter, the Director of Fathers and Family Initiatives, thank you for sharing your story as well as sharing, what you're going through. What would you say if there's a young man or somebody that has a young man in their life, whether it's a child, a nephew, grandson, what advice would you give them?
I would say find a mentor.
What's a mentor?
A mentor is different nowadays.
Okay.
So when we was growing up, a mentor was somebody older who had a job, who was doing the positive things, and you latched onto them. They latched onto you, and they supported you throughout your young adult and adulthood.
We call them old heads.
We call them old heads. Now, we had some positive ones, we had some negative ones.
Right.
But nowadays, if you ask the young people, like, how old is your old head? And if they 15, they like, my old head is 16 or 17. I'm like,
old head.
No, he can share a bunk next to you. Like that, like it's not the old head. So there are many mentoring programs that you can go to that's in the city of Philadelphia. Most of the fraternities and sororities have mentoring programs.
The Divine Nine, shout out to the Divine Nine.
Shouts out to Divine Nine. ECP, like we offer mentoring programs. We offer different programs that the young people can come to. And if you just look in your neighborhood, go to your community leaders and find out what's going on. Go to your senators, go to your state representatives, ask them. Like, I have a child who needs a program, and let them support you. That's what they're there for. That's what we put them in office for.
And I'm going to flip the script, as we say in the urban community.
Okay, come on.
And I'm going to put a flag out there. If you're somebody that has been through something, that you've gone through something, you have a testimony to share to a young person.
Yes.
That you want to come back and share so that they don't have to bump their head, because the brick wall is hard for all of us. And, if you could save somebody from bumping their head on nonsense, then certainly that's ECP. It would love to have you and come.
Love to have you.
And come talk. If you're a student or an old head.
Yeah. Students, old heads, and some old heads that's young at heart.
All right. Juan Baxter, the Director of Fathers and Family Initiatives, thank you for coming on and sharing your
oh, man, anytime.
Your story. Even though you got the bow tie on, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you for the cap and bow tie.
Oh, you already know what it is.
Right on. All right. So stay tuned as we continue our conversation. We're going to bring on some special guests and some old guests. Stay tuned.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is an approved Community Health Choices provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services, doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations. Always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I could not come to ECP, Educating Communities for Parenting, and not talk to the vertebrae of the organization. With me now, I have the admins who are responsible for answering the busy phone lines here at ECP. I have Chi and Khadija. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
So, a day in the life of the admin. What kind of questions are you guys answering when people call here? I probably know one question. Does the program cost anything?
Right. And the program is completely free. We get those questions. We get questions about court letters to prove that they're in the class, they're registered, like they're going through the right processes, if they are court mandated to be there. We have questions about what they're required to bring to class, and we also have other questions about things like housing for some of our parents that may be going through homelessness
Okay.
and where to get supplies and things for their babies and for their kids.
Wow. And so how long you guys been here? Have you ladies been here? How long you been?
Myself, I've been here for about 3 years now.
Okay. And you participated in the program at one point, right?
Yes, I was going to say also a former student
Okay.
of the program, yes.
And came back to work for the program right on.
Yeah.
So you believe in it.
Yes.
And then you guys, you know, I kind of imagine when you're setting people up, what do people need when they're registering for the class?
So you will call here and you will talk to either myself or Chioma. It's not much that you will need. We'll ask you a few questions about yourself and your children.
Okay.
And you can get started from there as long as you have a child under or expecting or have a child under the age of 7 years old, and you can get started.
Now, how long does it typically, if I call, you know, in the beginning of the month, is it an enrollment period? So I guess it's rolling admissions, but how long does it take for somebody to get into a program?
It doesn't take long at all. It takes under 5 minutes. We ask you basic questions, basic information about yourself, about your child, and then we ask if you're court mandated to be here, if you're just joining the program on your own. And then when we get that information from you, we let you know the information about the class, when the next class would be. That would probably be the next Thursday from when you called. And we allow them and let them know that they can choose to show up that week or the next week, but whenever they start, from their start date, they should attend the class for 13 weeks in order to receive a certificate of completion.
So then when they come to class, does every day they get a punch on their card or something like that? Is it that simple? They got to wait till the 13 weeks? For the court mandated folks that have to come and go through the program, do they get a validation situation? So how does that work?
So each week you'll be validated by basically as simple as you signing in, and then we'll keep a track record of your sign-ins and how many times you have attended the class or not attended the class.
The sign-in book comes out at the beginning of the class, don't be coming late.
Yes.
I think I didn't need to say that, right? Don't think you're going to roll up in here the last 15 minutes of the class. You got to come in at the beginning of the class and sign the book.
Yeah, so we do have a short rule with that. So our class starts from 6 to 8 p.m.
Right.
And we would expect students to be there by at least 6:20 in order to stay enrolled and participate in that class session.
Okay. And then you guys are open. When is the ECP open? I didn't ask that question through the interviews, but when is it open? Is it 8:30 to 5 or?
The office?
Yes.
I was open from 9 to 5:30.
9 to 5:30?
Yes.
All right, and so then can they register virtually? Do they have to come down and show ID? Like what?
No, just over the phone. They
Over
just
the
have to
phone?
call. And then when they show up to the class, that's when they get the intake packets that include an intake form, a consent form to collect information for a survey that they have to take, just basic questions about parenting. And then we as ECP provide a voter registration in those packets, rules and regulations for the class, Read by Fourth program that encourages kids to be able to read on a grade level by fourth grade. And then we include a library card.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Registration,
Yeah, registration. A library card registration for either the parent or their child so they can register whoever they want.
A library card. Oh my goodness. It takes me back to my days. I had to look up my library card because I did have one.
Yeah.
Ladies, Khadijah and Chioma, thank you so much for sharing what's going on. And then how much does it cost to get into the program?
It is completely free.
And it does not offset any existing program that the participant may be involved in.
No.
So it doesn't, because that's a growing concern that if I participate in one program, then they're going to offset it with another one.
Also, because our program is from 6 to 8 p.m.,
Right.
it might not conflict with a lot of other schedules. Even our working parents are allowed to, come after work. It gives you enough time to come after work. You can also bring your child or children if you need to. We do have childcare that's free of charge.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a daycare that's right opposite where we hold the classes. And we also provide a light dinner with the
Get
class.
out, you got grub too?
Yes.
All right, so you got daycare. We should have led with that now. you got daycare and a light refreshments.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I don't see if I can get no 4-course meal.
Also, we do provide 2 tokens if need be, or how you say now?
The bus passes?
Bus pass
Right.
if you need be, yes.
Okay. So then, you know, if you're looking at the bottom of the screen for ECP, Educating Communities for Parenting, you can look at the website as well as the phone number. You can call. You'll be talking to one of these lovely young women, and they'll answer all your questions and get you registered, whether it's something that you want to do as an option for alternative or it's something that's court mandated. Now, everybody's respected. It is a free program, and they do provide daycare and light meals. So, and then if need be, then they do help with transportation. Not Uber or Lyft. You will get a bus pass for SEPTA. We had to clarify, manage people's expectations.
Yes.
All right, stay tuned. As we round up the show, we're going to bring back Anita Kulik, and we got a special guest. Okay, thank you.
Did you know?
Always Best Care specializes in helping seniors who wish to remain in their home but need assistance. Our flexible care programs vary from hourly to live-in. Simply put, we're there when you need us. And Always Best Care is an approved Community Health Choices provider. Call today and we'll meet with you to develop a personalized care plan. Always Best Care Senior Services, doing more, caring more, and dedicated to exceeding your expectations. Always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. This episode has really been informative for me. I hope it has been for you. As promised, I have a very special guest on the show. As Anita and I wrap up the ECP, I have my mother on the show today. You know, she's here today because Mom and I have had our journeys, and I listen to my mother, who is often working in the community. She's retired, but she works with young people all the time. The purpose of this show is when we talk about educating communities for parenting, I think one of the things we did not really focus on that I would like my mother to really do, Mom, if you don't mind giving advice to parents that are parenting somebody that has had a teenage pregnancy, what would you say to them?
I think the first thing that I would say to the young mother and the young father, get to know this new person. This is not a pet. You are not babysitting. You are now responsible for another life. Don't be afraid. Don't be proud. Don't think that you know everything. Every new person is different. Every new baby is different. You have to get to know that person. You have to get to know their wants and likes. You, as yourself, you have to stay ahead of this child, because what you teach this child is what you know. I encourage every parent to be able to read to the child, to have the child be able to read. To me, that is the focus, the absolute pivotal focus of success, being able to read. It opens every door that you could possibly walk into. I encourage them with reading and patience, and touch the baby's face in love.
Wow, that's my mother, by the way. So it's a problem. Mom, I've also heard you say to parents that have a young parent, don't be the warden. Oh. Don't be the warden, be the coach. And I'm going to say that because it's stuck on me. And then, Mom, you say something to the young mothers too after the parents. What?
When young parents are young, so they're so excitable.
Right.
But I always say it gets very serious after the baby shower. You know, while you're pregnant, everything that you have to do for the baby is contained within you. Once you deliver, it gets real serious. It gets absolutely serious. So you have to stay prepared and ready, and you have to stay prayed up. You can't do it by yourself. You have to stay prayed up. I encourage them not to be afraid. Challenges are hard. If you're a new parent, you don't know what you are doing. Trust me on that. You haven't got a clue. And it's okay, because you learn as you go. Read.
Thank you.
Read.
Thank you, Mom. Anita, as we wrap up, this has been a very informative show. It was an important show for me to do, because oftentimes not only was I a teenage pregnancy, but I deal with a lot of young people that sometimes I find myself telling them to sit down and come up with a plan. And not only a plan A, a plan B, C, D, and E. Right. Because, things sometimes will go awry. That's life. And don't give up. You can't give up. And I will also say this, from a kid's perspective, we're always watching. We're always watching. You have now somebody that's watching you. So, you know, I want to say that. And now, Anita, I want to, thank you for sharing your team with me. And they shared a lot of information, but what we did not talk about was the census and how important it is to fill that out.
All right, I do want to speak to the census. This is an incredibly important time. Philadelphia has a thing called 2020 Counts, and we need to make sure that as many people as possible are counted in that census, particularly the populations that we serve. They are underrepresented, and many times they are afraid to fill out the census information. They should not be afraid to fill that information out. Their names will be on the form, but the information, once it gets analyzed, it only lists numbers, it lists no names. If you do not register for that census, the city of Philadelphia will receive less federal funding. Less federal funding comes right back to our city. It means less money for programs that we need, for housing, for parenting education, for food, for all kinds of things that are necessary for our parents to survive. Philadelphia right now is paying $25, I actually think it's $25.25 only in the city of Philadelphia for people who will participate and become census takers. If you participate in the Philadelphia census and you are one of the census takers, that money will not be held against any government funding you may currently receive. So we're really trying to reach the populations that we work with. We would like our parents to be able to participate, take advantage of this process, make some money, be able to have extra income. It will not impact their programs. But again, I have to reiterate, it is important that everybody counts, that any child, if you have a child that's 1 day old in your house, that child counts. If you're a foster parent or you're taking care of somebody else's child, as long as that child is in your house on the day you take that census, please make sure that you have that child accounted for. It will come back and help us in the end. The last census was 10 years ago. We're not going to have another one for another 10 years. Philadelphia lost so much funding because people were undercounted last year.
And now, and one thing that we want to also talk, which is near and dear to my heart, because I have a child with low vision, you guys do a lot of program interaction with the low vision community. Let's speak to it.
Right. Thank you for this opportunity. I just really wanted to spread the word about this program. About 3 years ago, I was asked to do programming for parents who have children who are blind and visually impaired. It's a small population. They are incredible parents. It's a really, I don't have to tell you, it's a really difficult task because every day is another decision, getting the right education, helping your child learn the skills that they need. You had also mentioned how important it was to make sure that that child was able to make a transition from perhaps being in a special program for children with visual impairments into a mainstream. And we provide classes for this. We do workshops once a month at St. Lucy's Day School for the Blind in Philadelphia, and every other Tuesday we have phone calls. You can call in 7:30 to 8:30, any parent.
The phone number is at the bottom of the screen. And I had to jump in because my producer's telling me we got to cut it. Time's up. But that's an excellent reason for us to come back and focus on that program. I would love to do it if you'd love to have me back.
Okay, thank you. And I think I want your mother as a facilitator.
She could be a facilitator. She works in small community organizations now as well. And that's why I had her on it. And it was really my pleasure to feature this program because I wish more programs were like this when I was coming along. But we did all right, and I'm proud of it. I want to remind the viewers that you can check me out on the radio on Saturdays at 4 p.m. on 96.1 FM and WURDradio.com. That's it. This Peace and Light. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Did you know always your right hand man? Did you know he's gonna make it clear? Did you know? Come on, listen here.